If there's one thing that I will criticize Stephanie White on, and there's a lot of things that I've criticized her on, but if there's one thing right now that I could criticize Stephanie White on, and the front office, of course, because the front office is filled with absolute complete buffoons, the decision to draft Raven Johnson is going to go down as one of the worst in history, flat out. And this is me saying this after I praised the decision after it was made and saying we had to live with it because that was the decision. And I could see Raven Johnson playing 15 to 20 minutes a game as the backup point guard. And initially, that's what it looked like was going to happen. And then Stephanie White decided that Ty Harris was better than Raven Johnson, and Ty Harris was going to get more minutes than Raven Johnson, even though Ty Harris isn't very good either. But Raven Johnson was your number 10 overall pick, which to me means you have a duty and a responsibility to play your draft pick as the backup point guard. Raven Johnson was never even given an opportunity to start when Caitlin Clark was out with injury. Instead, Stephanie White put in Ty Harris. And I still sit here wondering why. You drafted Raven Johnson as the number 10 pick. You made that decision. And when it was time to play Raven Johnson as the starter, you decided you're not going to do that. No one said you had to play her 35 minutes. But to not start her when you drafted her and playing a washed out vet like Ty Harris just made no sense. Now, some people will say Raven Johnson hasn't been very good when she's been out there. And you may be right. But I've also seen her out there and look pretty damn good. And since about, I don't know, game 10 or 12 or something like that, because we're what, game 30 now? About game 15, somewhere around there. Raven Johnson became forgotten. And Raven Johnson may go down as a humongous bust. In fact, she might already be a bust. And she is a player that they should have traded before the deadline. They should have packaged Raven Johnson in a deal to bring in a big. Oh, yeah, Damaris Dantas is out for the year. Another bad decision by this front office. Another one. And I know people are screaming Justine Passat. Oh, listen, folks, Justine Passat's barely played for Vegas after the first two games. Real talk. You can go look it up. She's done almost nothing. But Raven Johnson was drafted by this team as the first round pick, one pick before Medina Okot, who would have fit this roster. And I said it back then. And yeah, you can call me out saying that I wanted Tania Latson. Yeah, I did. I did. And maybe I was wrong there too. Situations are really what it's about. Opportunity is what it's about. See lots of players getting opportunities that they haven't otherwise earned, but they get the opportunity. Raven Johnson right now is a bust. A massive bust. Let's talk about it. Welcome back, everybody, to Indiana Fever Unfiltered. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, hype the video, ring the bell, leave your comments. Raven Johnson is currently averaging 12 minutes per game. She's played in 28 games. She has started none. The Fever are 19 and 11, so they've played 30. So Raven Johnson has seen action in 28 out of 30 games. She's averaging 12 minutes per game. She's shooting 40.8% from the floor, 25.6 from three, 80 from the line, 1.4 assists, 2.1 rebounds, less than a half a steal, 0.9 turnovers. She is, by definition of the word, a de facto scrub in the WNBA. That's what she's been relegated to. She's a scrub. And I'm not sitting here saying that to denigrate her and dismiss her. Because if you look at the beginning of the season, actually, it's not game 15, it's game 22. Of the 28 games that Raven Johnson has played, you can go look at the statistics. She played 11, 5, 4, 17, 22, 14, 21, 10, 23, 17. The playing time is up and down, and that's part of the problem. How do you make these decisions? How does Stephanie White decide when to play Raven Johnson? People say, oh, she's not that. Some people say she's the best defender they got at guard. Others say, oh, she really can't defend either because she can't put her hands on people. Well, that's how they defend in college. The rule changes in the WNBA have made it a really, really soft league. And Raven Johnson has said it. I can't touch anybody. So how do you relearn defense if you can't play in the games? Because the Indiana Fever in practice don't play defense. I mean, we see it on the court every game. They don't defend. So how do you defend or learn to defend the right way in the WNBA if your team doesn't defend in practice? You got to learn it by playing and figure out what you can and can't do. And Raven Johnson's not some stupid girl. She has a pretty good b-ball IQ, in my opinion, from what I've seen. But you look at her minutes, 13 minutes. Then she goes to 3 minutes. Then it's 13. Then back to 3. Then it's 21. Then it's 18, 20, 21, 12, 22. And then since July 12th, she has become, for lack of better words, a bum. 235, 53 seconds. Okay, let's go back. She played 2 minutes and 35 seconds in a game that they won by 34 over Vegas. 34. She played 2 minutes and 35 seconds. Stephanie White could not get her into a game that they won by 34, a game after she played 22 minutes in a win over Phoenix. Make that make sense. And then it's Golden State. She plays 53 seconds. That might be the least amount of time she's played in a game in her life. 53 seconds? 244 versus Seattle. 333 versus New York. Again, another game. A game they won by 20. 52 seconds. Shoot, I said 53. Well, in a couple of weeks, she played probably the two fewest amount of minutes in her life. 52 seconds against Portland. 331 versus Minnesota. That's Raven Johnson. She has been relegated to being a bum. Why didn't you trade her? She serves no purpose. She serves no purpose. No matter how much she smiles or no matter how sweet she might be and how fun of a person she might be to have around, she serves this team no purpose. A third point guard? You drafted her. Before you destroy her value, you could have and should have traded her before the deadline. But the Indiana Fever did not do so. What's new? This is how they run their operation. The numbers of Raven Johnson are crazy. You can see it right here. I'm not making it up. I have no reason to. She's played 20 to 29 minutes 7 times. 9 times, 10 to 19, and 12 times 0 to 9. How does that happen? How are minutes that distorted? Well, because Ty Harris has not been out the last 20 games. So in some of these situations, Ty Harris has been on the floor or been available. It's like Stephanie White doesn't know what she wants to do. This Vegas game, Caitlin Clark did play. I think she was on limited minutes. And you could only play Raven Johnson 2.5 minutes. The Phoenix game, I know Caitlin Clark didn't play. The first Vegas game, she didn't play. The Sparks game, Caitlin Clark played. I believe. But Caitlin played a bunch of these games. Caitlin played versus Atlanta. Caitlin played versus the Liberty, versus Atlanta, versus the Valkyries. I mean, she played in a lot of these games. Doesn't make sense. I don't get it. You draft somebody, you claim she's a top 5 value pick, which I thought was insane. And I was hypercritical of Raven Johnson in college at South Carolina because I thought she was a massively inept player on offense. I always credited her defensively, but I always thought she was completely inept on offense. And quite frankly, she still is. She improved. But how can she get better if she's never playing? That's how you get better. Because Raven Johnson's confidence right now is probably shot. She's been relegated to being a bum. She's probably never felt that in her life and doesn't even know how to handle it. But she smiles about everything. It's weird. You select her at 10. You presume she's the backup point guard because y'all said that Ty Harris was the backup too. But yet Raven Johnson never plays as the backup point or barely plays now. She's like, again, relegated to a bum. She's a bust. Raven Johnson's a bust right now. Unless something miraculous happens, the Indiana Fever will have once again figured out how to destroy the value of a basketball player. Destroy it. They devalue Justine Passat. Their entire draft is what? They cut their third round pick. They let their second round pick go for nothing. And here's their first round pick when they could have drafted 6'6" Medina Okot and had some real size come off the bench. And instead, we're sitting here right now and we have a first round draft pick, top 10 point guard who doesn't sniff the floor. But hey, y'all let me know y'all thoughts in the comments. Like I said, there's a lot right now that's going on with Indiana, and I am not going to be hypercritical of Stephanie White because I don't think she's doing a bad job at this point. I really don't. People may not like that, but I don't think she's doing a bad job. The offense is scoring over 100 points a game. Just because you don't like who may be scoring all the points is not my problem. What she is responsible for is a horrific defense. So for that, she should be highly criticized because she prides herself on being a defensive coach, but yet her team cannot play defense worth a lick. And that's why they lose games to good teams, because they can't stop them. They can score all day, but they can't stop good teams. So I can criticize her for that. But they are 19-11 right now. But they do have a point guard who they drafted, who she was part of the decision making in that. Best believe Stephanie White was part of the decision to draft Raven Johnson. And here we are sitting right now, and Raven Johnson has been relegated to someone that maybe gets a few more minutes again than I do. Y'all leave y'all thoughts in the comments. Hit that like button, hype button, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell. Is Raven Johnson a bust? You let me know. I appreciate y'all. This is Indiana Fever Unfiltered, powered by Come On Now, the podcast. Come on now.